Hello and welcome to Bubble Hearthing. I'm Shadow13 and I'm going to now be reviewing the Priest cards for the Boomsday project, the latest expansion coming out to Hearthstone on August the 7th, pretty soon. So, we will begin with the 0 mana Topsy Turvy. Now, well, let's swap minions attack and health. Let's get the rest of that sentence out of my mouth first. I like this card. We can mention the combo. Right now, why not? This combos well with Test Subject and Divine Spirit, as well as, not Inner Fire, actually, yeah, those two, and Vivid Nightmare, in order to kind of OTK your opponent. Let's combo with this. We'll talk about that further. I'll lay it all out once we get to Test Subject, because that helps a lot with the explanation. But what if it was just outside of that? Well, 0 mana spells and Priest are pretty good, mainly because of Lyra. You can keep a Lyra chain going, and even if you just don't get a huge effect off of it, you keep it going. I mean, it's not bad. The effect could be useful. Very simple applications involve killing Doomsayers, killing anything with 0 attack, notably Doomsayer, Flametongue Totem, and Manatide Totem. And also the Mana Fin Totem, I believe. I think that's what it's called. The one that spawns Murlocs every turn. You can kill that thing. That's not a bad idea. What else can you do with this? You can suddenly flip minions, thing. If you played a big Twilight Drake, instead of running Inner Fire, you can kind of throw this out there. And as long as you're going face, it has basically the same effect. Let's see, and then otherwise, you can use it on opponent's minions. Say they have something like a Voidwalker. Oh, darn, Voidwalker, little 1/3, can't get through you with my, little 1/1 dude. Oh, but wait a minute. If I play this, now it's a 3/1. My 1/1 dies either way, but now I basically did 2 damage for 0. The bigger the difference between the health and the attack, the more pseudo damage you're going to be able to do. So that's something to note there. Alright, I spent 2 minutes talking about this card. Let's move on. I like it. I think it's going to see some play, though. 2 mana Cloning Device. Discover a copy of a minion in your opponent's deck. Notably, this is not the Glimmer Root, I believe it's called, where you, try to pick which one's in there. You're going to see 3 cards that are in your opponent's deck, much like Draken and Operative, which is a very good card. Of course, it's out of the standard rotation now, but that was a very, very good card. So this one's going to be pretty good too. Was it Draken and Operative? I think I might have misspoken. Was it Nether Spite Historian? It might have been the Operative. Yeah, I'm thinking about Draken and Crusher. I'm getting those confused, but I was right. Draken and Operative. The fact that they're cards from your opponent's deck means that they're good enough to be included in your opponent's deck. Unless you're at ranks like, down there in 19, 20, 15, 14, whatever. Even then, they have some idea of what they're doing. They're not going to throw bad things into the deck just because. The worst case, it's a combo deck, and you get a combo piece that you can't really make much out of, but it's only 2 mana. It's pretty cheap. I like this card. I think it's very good. I think it's going to be seeing some play. Next up, we have the Dead Ringer. Oh, look at this. He's kind of a little adorable little guy. 2 mana, 2/1. Death Rattle. Draw a Death Rattle minion from your deck, and it is a mech. The fact that it's a mech, I don't really think has a lot of. It's not that it doesn't make the card weaker, but I don't think a lot of the synergy comes from that. There's some push here towards kind of Quest Priest, Death Rattle Priest, and at the moment Quest Priest isn't really in a good place. It doesn't really do a whole lot. You play Amara, but the rest of your deck, it really isn't that great with all the Death Rattles. The fact that this thing could basically replace Loot Hoarder, specifically in that deck, otherwise in other decks too, in other Priest decks, I should say. At the worst, it pulls itself, really. Otherwise, you can pull an Obsidian Statue with it when it dies. You can pull Gilded Gargoyle if you're trying to go for some kind of combo and get the coins for some extra things there. There are a lot of Priest Death Rattles. I don't really know all of them on top of my head because I haven't played much Priest. Not even just Death Rattle Priest. I haven't played a lot of Priest. But this card's very nice. A 2 mana 2/1 with this kind of effect that replaces itself by drawing a card from your deck is very nice. I like it. Definitely going to see play. Alright, here's the test subject that we mentioned when we were talking about Topsy Turvy. So 1 mana 0/2. Death Rattle, return any spells you cast on the minion to your hand. So basically, they tried to fuse together what appears to be a Leper Gnome with a Primal Fin Champion. Primal Fin Champion saw 0 play. This, however, is in a very specific, very interesting spot in the game. If you're not running Inner Fire and Divine Spirit, or even just Divine Spirit in your deck, you will not run this card. That is bad. You're not going to try to get the buffs, because then you're running bad Primal Fin that can't attack until it's buffed. No, but I get to recycle my power word shields. No, that's not value at all. However, there is a combo with this card. If you're running in, you can run this in the Divine Spirit Inner Fire deck, just as like, I'm going to throw him on this guy. And then when this guy dies, I can throw him on another guy, instead of only having 2 targets to really buff up. Alright, now without further ado, let's bring up the combo. So I'm going to go max production value, and I'm going to push the wrong button. That's okay. Not to worry. Max production value. There we go. Okay. And here it is, this one, with all the weird words. Alright, here is the combo. Oh my goodness. Might as well just unzoom it. I'm going to move my face to right over here for this little portion. I'm going to be almost off the screen. Oh no. Okay, close enough. So, I'll just keep myself towards like this end of things. You need to have 2 Radiant Elementals. This, I'm not sure this one's optimized necessarily, but I want to just put this out there, and there could be optimizations further on. 2 Radiant Elementals, which of course reduce the cost of your spell by 2. That costs 4 mana. You play your test, and you want to have your test subject, and your Divine Spirits. Cool. You play all that. You put your 2 Divine Spirits on your test subject. So that's what, 2, 4, 5. Each of these are free, because spells that cost 2 or less are free, right? You play Vivid Nightmare. That costs 1 mana, so you're at 6 mana right now. You cast it on your test subject. It remembers that you casted it. You make a copy. Either one that you kill will both give you a Vivid Nightmare back, as well as the 2 Divine Spirits. You Topsy Turvy one of them. Doesn't have to be number 1. It can be number 2, as far as I'm concerned. As far as I'm aware, it dies because you buff the health a lot, but it has no attack. So it flips over to 0 health immediately. Dies. You get your 2 Divine Spirits, your Vivid Nightmare, and you Topsy Turvy back, but you still have a test subject on the board. You Vivid Nightmare the test subject that is still on the board. You get an extra 1. And then you play Topsy Turvy on that to kill it. Okay, now you get your 2 Divine Spirits back, and you get an extra Vivid Nightmare in this case, and Topsy Turvy again. You play Topsy Turvy on the last remaining one. You don't have to copy it again another time. You get Divine Spirits, Vivid Nightmares, and Topsy Turvy. You get the Stone Tusk Boar, which is like Resident Sleeper since day 1, I guess. I don't know. There have been decks that love abusing this card. I can see the day where they're just going to say, you know what, Stone Tusk Boar, you got to go to the Hall of Fame, because there are too many ways that people somehow found to just make these ridiculous combos and miraculously break you. You play all your Divine Spirits on it, so it goes from 1 to 2 to 4 to 8 to 16 to 32 health. And you Topsy Turvy that, and it has that 1 health now, but it has 32 attack. Punch your opponent in the face. You win. Of course, if you have excess Vivid Nightmares, like it says right here, then you can always cast them on your Radiant Elementals to make your future ones cost less. Awesome. If your opponent has a bunch of things in the way, if only there was some way you had to kind of silence all your enemy minions. Oh right, Mass Dispel. Guaranteed you can go face right there. So, that's a hell of a combo. Of course it does 32. I imagine you could probably get more Divine Spirits if you kept this thing going. Maybe. I'm not completely sure. And get 64 instead of 32 if your opponent, you know, armored up significantly. But that's that. Okay. So now we know about the combo. Going back to that, because of that combo, and going back to my little corner here, woo! Nice. I think this card is going to see play, and specifically that deck and Inner Fire decks, and I think it's going to be a pretty good card. I like it. It's interesting. It might be, like, terrible, in the sense that it might be rampant and not very fun and interactive, but I like the card. Extra arms, looks like more arms. That's what you get, though. 3 mana, give a minion +2/+2, add more arms to your hand. That gives +2/+2. More arms is just a spell. It's 3 mana, give a minion +2/+2. It does not continue any further. So you play this, you get an extra spell, and then that's the end of the chain there. 3 mana +2/+2 is not going to see any play. Second 3 mana +2/+2 is not going to see any play. What is that with this word like arms? Tentacles for Arms is also a terrible card. So extra arms, yeah, bad card. No. Omega Medic. Okay, 3 mana, 3/4. If you have 10 mana crystals, restore 10 health to your hero. This reminds me a bit of the what was it called? I forget exactly what it was called. But back in Whispers of the Old Gods, there was the priest card where if your Cthulhu had at least 10 attack and health, there's 10 attack, that you would gain 10 health when you played it. So it reminds me about that one. It had a better body though. 3 mana 3/4 does not see play. It's alright. This only sees play really if you can get the effect to go off. And if you get the effect to go off, it's nice, but you need to have some kind of combo further down the line. I could see this in a combo priest somehow. Notably, just for clarification, it says if you have 10 mana crystals, it still costs 3 no matter when you play it. But if you have 10, it gains a bonus effect. It doesn't use up all your mana crystals. So, unless you're having some kind of crazy combo 1TK, 1TK, that technically works because that's what the O stands for. OTK, which the test subject does give you, and Topsy Turvy. Otherwise, I don't think I'm going to see this card see much play at all. It belongs in specifically the Topsy Turvy deck, test subject deck, or some kind of Mind Blast deck. Otherwise, no. Oh boy. 5 mana, power word, replicate. Choose a friendly minion, summon a 5/5 copy of it. So, well, you can use this as my little theory crafting thing kicked in here. As a free, like, you can, if you kind of test your combo, again, the Topsy Turvy and the test subject combo, and for some reason your test subject dies, or you try to play it earlier on just for the heck of it, you can use 2 Radiant Elementals and play Twilight's Call to get back your test subject, and then you can play 2 Radiant Elementals, power word, replicate that, and Twilight's Call, and you are able to still go off even though it has a more mana cost to it. So just a little note there. Aside from that, you can play this with the legendary Zarek, which is coming up soon, and in Priest. But I don't really think he's going to see all that much play either, to be honest. So I don't really think this is a great card. It's 5 mana, summon a 5/5. It happens to have another thing with it. I don't see it seeing a whole lot of play. Maybe in the test subject deck, test subject combo deck, but otherwise, no, I don't think so. Alright, we have a 5 mana, 4/6 Reckless Experimenter. Death Rattle minions you play cost 3 less, but they die at the end of the turn. So, would you play a 5 mana 4/6? Maybe. I mean, 4 mana 4/5 is the baseline Yeti stats, right? So, if it's going to be in a competitive deck, it needs to have some kind of effect going with it. This is an effect. Do we like the effect? I don't know. 5 mana 4/6, you add 1 stat point, so based on that alone, the stats are not worth the cost. You want like a 5 mana 5/6 to even maybe see play. Death Rattle minions you play cost 2 less. Interesting. Cost 3 less, my bad. But die at the end of the turn. So, what are we going to do with that? Well, I see this as almost a Malgazar's Imp kind of effect. It reduces the cost of things, so the fact that it costs 5 isn't really a huge deal. It's mitigated by the fact that it has cost reduction in the effect. A lot of people say, oh, don't play this with, loot hoarders and the dead ringers, I believe is what it's called. The little dead dudes, and, any other kind of cycle things, because they don't die right away, you have to wait the turn. But a similar thing kind of occurs with Malgazar's Imp. You play your cards, and then at the end of the turn, granted you draw them immediately, but still, I can see this as a way to rapidly go through your hand. I don't think it's bad, but I don't think it's really great either. And for that reason, I don't think it's going to see much play. You really don't want your Obsidian Statue to die immediately. The only thing that I've ever played that I wanted to die right away is Rin, the First Disciple, in order to get the Death Rattle to go off, so you get the seals in your hand, so they don't transform it and remove the effect completely. But I don't think there's too many Priest cards that really want that to occur. So I can see it as almost a fair Malgazar's Imp, and because of that, I don't like it. I don't know if you remove this after you play your Death Rattle minions, if they still keep their effect. I imagine it does. I imagine they still die, because they might still be in the stipulation of this. But if not, that could be worth looking into. Hey, we're on to the legendaries. Alright, so 6 mana 5/5 Zarek, Master Cloner. He's like some kind of ethereal dude too. I like those guys. Death Rattle, if you've cast any spells on this minion, resummon it. Well, that sounds great in Priest. It doesn't have to be a buff spell. So the first thing you probably think of is Power Word Shield, which is a great one to play on this, absolutely. Beyond that, you can also play Smite. You can play Holy Smite, do some damage to it, but you get a copy of it afterwards. You can do Topsy Turvy. Probably not going to actually do anything, but it's 0 mana, and you trigger the Death Rattle. Or you don't trigger it, but you enable the Death Rattle, I should say. You can play the Elixirs, which is the unknown elixirs. You get some kind of buff on it, and that's not too bad. Maybe Vivid Nightmare would work on this thing. I believe it would. I don't know if you would have two guys that you each have the activated Death Rattle or not. Or you can, of course, use the Power Word Replicate. The question here, okay, so you can see a guy that keeps coming back to life every now and then. Imagine he only comes back to life one time, because you have other things to do, you have bigger plans. Well, this is very similar to Cairn in that case. And Cairn sees zero play at this moment. Zero play. None whatsoever. So because of that reason, that I don't know if you can reliably say you're going to cast multiple spells in this thing without your opponent disrupting you, or just killing both copies right away. Because of that, I think that this is not a good card. Moving on now. 9 mana Zareks Cloning Gallery. Oh boy. This sounds weird. Summon a 1/1 copy of each minion in your deck. So, of course you're going to think, wow, 1/1 copies? You summon a whole bunch of minions in your deck? You can get Velen, you can get Malagos, and you can get Nosdormu, because why not Nosdormu? Throw that in there too. You can get Radiant Elementals, and then if you get 2 Radiant Elementals and Velen, and if you get, whatchamacallit, Malagos, and maybe you have a coin from, you know, either if you went second or the Gilded Gargoyle, wow, you could play a Mind Blast there. Or if you get 2 Radiant Elementals, you can just play Mind Blast and win the game after you play this card. But you're counting on not drawing minions on a 9 mana spell. That is very difficult to do. The RNG involved here is terrible. And if you whiff on this, you just add 9 mana. At the most, you put 7/7 worth of stats on the board that are all 1 health. That's game losing. I'm just going to put it that way. It's absolutely unreliable. The only way I can see this seeing any play is if it was in a Death Rattle Priest, because I think it would instantly complete your quest. If I'm wrong and you actually have to play the minions and not just summon them, then this is even worse than that. But even in that case where you're playing in Death Rattle Priest, I still don't like it. I hate to end all these videos on like a bad note on the legendary spells not being great, but unfortunately this is the situation that we're in. So on that note there, on the bad note, thank you very much for watching this video. Please stay tuned. We're going to have the Rogue evaluation up very soon, the Rogue review. So until next time, good night or good morning, and as always, good luck.